During last night's State of the Union address, President Biden did not shy away from calling out Republicans on the need to defend democracy at home and abroad. He highlighted the violent events of January 6th, which took place in that very chamber, where, as the president described it, Trump supporters placed a dagger to the heart of American democracy. And then Biden took Donald Trump and far-right Republicans to task for whitewashing those events.
We must be honest. The threat to democracy must be defended. My predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th. I will not do that. This is the moment to speak the truth and to bury the lies. Here's the simple truth. You can't love your country only when you win.
Joining me now are two of the heroes of January 6th, former D.C. Metropolitan Police Officer Michael Fanone and former Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn, who, by the way, is running for Congress in Maryland. Thank you both for being here. Michael, I want to start with you. We have talked a lot about just you having to process kind of the events of that day in real time as things are still happening in that chamber. And I wonder if you watched the State of the Union last night and what you made of it if you watched it, seeing President Biden call out those members to their faces.
I mean, obviously, I thought that the president's words were appropriate. I'm glad to see that his reelection team is starting to take the threat of democracy seriously, and that they are allotting appropriate time for the president to address that threat to the American people. Unfortunately, I feel as though many of the institutions that are in place in this country to protect us from an insurrectionist like the former president are failing us. Or are simply not in position to save us from ourselves. I think eventually it really is just going to come down to the American people at the ballot box voting to place President Biden in office again and keep Donald Trump out of office.
I think there's a consensus that you are absolutely correct. Harry Dunn, we've had that same conversation. So how about you? Because you worked in that space, in that place. I know when I was watching it, I did have an eerie feeling seeing regular business being done essentially at the scene of the crime. I wonder how you felt watching it and what you thought of President Biden's remarks.
Well, thanks. Good to be on with you, Mike. What's up, buddy? This was the first time in 15 years that I hadn't been working in a law enforcement capacity for the State of the Union, so be able to actually sit down and watch it. And I'll jump back real quick. The last segment you talked about Troy Nehls that had on a Trump mugshot shirt, never surrender. Troy Nehls was a former sheriff or a former law enforcement official. So for him to say something about never surrender, it's kind of gross to policing and law enforcement as it is. But I think the speech by President Biden was right on the money and not letting people forget about what happened. And that's honestly partially part of the reason why I'm running for Congress right now, HarryDunnForCongress.com. It's one of the reasons why I'm running. We need people to continue, not just the president, but it's great when the president does it, but people to stand up and push back against the lies that are continually 3 years later being spread about what happened that day. I applaud Michael Fanone. I'm encouraged by the work that he's doing. There's so many people, Sergeant Ganell, so many people are still showing up and not letting this go away. Michael Fanone testified last week before, one of the weaponization committees, and we need to continue to show up. And like Mike said, it's not about these institutions, but they are run by the people. And they, the Supreme Court with their ruling about, Colorado clearly shows that it's going to be on us American people to save democracy.
Yeah. I mean, and that ruling, this is how Axios described it. That Justice Sotomayor and Lena Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson, in their concurring opinion Monday, the ruling you're talking about, allowing Trump to stay on the ballot, that it went too far because it could be applied beyond Trump. The majority attempts to insulate all alleged insurrectionists from future challenges to their holding federal office. So I want to ask you first, Harry Dunn, because you're running. What do you make of the fact that the Supreme Court has essentially cleared the way for insurrectionists to do what you're doing, run for Congress?
Well, not even just that, but I think it goes think back real quick, when the impeachment happens, Mitch McConnell and a lot of the Republican argument was that it's the court's decision. Let the court decide with, Donald, if he should be, fit to or eligible to hold office again. It's not Congress's place. But literally the dissent or whatever you call the ruling, it literally said that that's Congress's job. And, Colorado did not have the authority to do so. But that's why I think it all goes back to people being engaged and involved and educated about these issues. Because if you're tuned into just one thing and you're hearing the MAGA right say that, January 6th, it wasn't bad, then, they're going to believe that. The people on January 6th were fed lies and they believed it. So we need to continue to fight loud, fight hard, and push back against that.
No one is doing that, spreading those lies more than Donald Trump himself, Michael. I'm going to briefly listen to what he is doing. He's now doing this at every single rally that he holds. Here is Donald Trump.
You heard the J6 hostages. You saw the spirit that these people have, the spirit. You would think they wouldn't have any spirit left, but they have tremendous spirit. What's happened to them has probably, to that extent, never happened in our country before.
The idea of the former president referring to those people who are incarcerated for doing violence against people like yourself as hostages and playing a song, their version of the national anthem in his rallies, what do you think of that?
I mean, it's outrageous, but again, it's to be expected. Donald Trump is the insurrectionist leader of this insurrectionist band of violent individuals who attacked law enforcement officers on January 6th. So the fact that he would continue to ingratiate himself amongst his supporters by using terms like hostages and political prisoners comes as no surprise to me. That's exactly who Donald Trump is, and that's what his presidency is all about.
Yeah, unfortunately, and we hope that it does not continue and is not reprised. Michael Fanone, Harry Dunn, thank you both, gentlemen. We appreciate you, and thank you for all that you did on January 6th. Thank you.